Hey everybody, Simon here. I just want to start off by saying this intro is going to be a little bit longer than my normal intros, so if you want to go ahead and skip to the actual gameplay, you can just hit the link in the description for the time code that if I figure it out, will be there. If I don't figure it out, then this message means nothing. But anyway, so this is a commentary match, a commentary video for a match in the beginners tournament. So the USTA decided to have a beginners tournament, and I hadn't planned on actually doing any commentary for the games in the beginners tournament except for the final games in the playoffs. And that has since changed because I have been commissioned by one of the participants to do commentary for all of their games. And you're saying, how did they did they throw a bunch of money at me? Of course not. One of the participants though is my wife, and so I can't exactly turn that down. So I am doing commentary for Fela, who is maybe it's Fela. I'm pretty sure it's Fela though. Um, uh, yeah, for the people who aren't familiar, who just love TAC because it's a fantastic and amazing game. Um, the game originated from the Patrick Rothfuss fantasy book series, the King Killer Chronicles, I think. And he has a few characters in there, Simon being one of them. So that explains my name, and Fela being another name of another character. So there is some background information for those of you who are unfamiliar with the book series that the game sort of was based on and sort of wasn't. I'm pretty sure that the creator just came up with the game and then was like, hey, this would be really good if we attached it to some already existing intellectual property with a big following, and then we can get more people to play it. Maybe it happened a different way. They tell a different story. I have my own version in my head. Whatever. Anyway, so they're going to be playing a game. Fela is playing a game against ETSD in this beginner tournament. So I will be doing commentary for all of Fela's games. So all of Group 3, all of her games for Group 3. So that's fun. She is pretty new to the game. Has played maybe a dozen games. I think 2 of them with me, and I think the rest of them with Friendly Bot and Beginner Bot. So she's very new to the game. I will not be coaching her. She will be in a different room with her iPad playing TAC while I do this commentary. So she won't be getting any information out of me. So there's no foul play. Just want to clarify that. I'm not coaching or anything like that. Fela is also so the reason why she hasn't really played much before is back when the Kickstarter popped up. There we saw it and we were really excited because we were fans of the books and we thought, oh, this would be really cool. And so we were like, yeah, we'll get this game and we'll play it together once our board arrives. And so that was back in April of 2016, and then I found out like 2 days later that PlayTac existed and I could play with folks online. And so I thought, oh, that's a great idea. I'll play with people online. We can both play online. She was against the idea of playing online because she didn't want to do that. She doesn't like playing online as much as in person. So we made a pact that I would not play online, she would not play online. That way, when we both got the physical set, we could play together and both be at the same level in terms of skill level. And I broke that pact and played online because I'm a terrible human being. And so she has since not wanted to play at all ever with me, not out of spite, but because she's a little competitive with me, I believe. And when I have such a huge head start on it, it's no longer fun for her to learn, which I completely understand. And I'm not just saying that because she's going to be watching this commentary. Um, but yeah, so that is why she has not played this game that is like my only big hobby, apparently. So, anyway, she's new. ETSD, I believe, is new. Most of the folks in this beginner tourney are pretty new. There are a few folks who've been around a while who maybe haven't excelled in terms of skill level, but yeah, they are all fairly new to the game or just learning how to get to the competitive point. So this should be really fun. And I will wait then for the seek to go up and for their game to start, and then we can go ahead and get on with the commentary, and I can stop rambling in this extra long introduction that I'm really glad I prefaced would be extra long. And they're off. They jumped into a game pretty quick. We see some adjacent corners being played out here. Fela is in white for the first game, and ETSD is in black. So we'll see how this opening goes. We see going for that center control, which is pretty standard play, and the mirrored opening. So it looks like these folks have been studying up on what the top players have been doing for their openings. A little bit of a deviation from that opening statement here with this diagonal connection. This isn't something that you see from most of the players. This, however, is kind of a standard opening, which is not something that I was expecting here. So Fela is going deviation from the standard openings here, even though Fela has white, which it gives her a little bit of momentum boost. So instead of pushing for that road right away, it's kind of building for this connection here first. I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe like a capstone here from white, but instead goes for a flat, which is also a solid play. But because black now has this momentum, white is going to have to make a capturing move at some point. Goes for a little preemptively. Interesting choice. We'll see if we see a recapture. No, we do see the black capstone come down. It's a good play because no matter what, he can capture up or capture over depending on what white does here. So black's got a pretty good spot. White is pushing for that first tack threat of the game. Black cutting off here. White may be going for, okay, so white's going to push around. I wouldn't be surprised to see black place here. Now, what would have been great is if black had waited to use the capstone, placed it there. That would have been a fantastic spot for the capstone. We have yet to see white's capstone drop. Now, will we see white make a connection here or go for a capture? That's a good question here. And, oh, interesting. So white had momentum and is essentially giving it up to make this defensive move here. Because white did not have any sort of threat going on, but maybe she's thinking, okay, I need to make sure that this doesn't get away from me at any point. Black now pushing that, and I wonder if white realizes, okay, so white does realize that she can push that. Now, what I would find interesting is a recapture and then a capture here. No, instead the capstone comes down. Now, what I would expect to see is maybe a flat here on A2 or a flat here on C2. Those would both be a tack threat. And again, I have not coached Fela in any way because she refuses to to get advice from me or any sort of teaching at all. So I have stopped trying. We will see an interesting play here. So no matter what Fela does, I can see. Okay, so that's a very interesting play because it doesn't really further the tack threat at all. It's purely a defensive type move. I would expect to see maybe a flat here and then throwing this capstone up to B4 because that would be a pretty solid threat. Because once he'd have the capstone here, he'd have the black flat underneath it, could then connect it here or throw it up. So it would be a two-pronged threat, and it would need to be cut off at this point or over here at this point. So very interesting possibilities that black has at this point. White's kind of leaving it open by placing this capstone here. It wasn't a great position for it, but it also wasn't terrible at the same time. So there were still other possibilities that white could have done to further the position before placing that capstone down. Like for example, if white had placed here and that had been the next move, a capstone here would have been amazing. That would have been a great spot because it would have been able to capture back, retake that flat, or capture down, cut that off, and basically continue along those threats. And so this capstone, if it were here, would be great. Honestly, even moving it down without a capture would be a good play at this point. Instead, white goes for a capture across, playing a very defensive game, which does make sense because the two games that I played against Fela, I had a very hard time not playing. I had a hard time playing easy because I don't do very well. I don't play easy very well. It doesn't come naturally to me. It's very difficult for me to do, so I end up just playing, and so then she was on the defensive the whole time. So maybe she has gotten into that habit of playing very defensively and not pushing for her own threats and using that momentum that you get with white. So that would be a solid explanation for that. We'll see what black does here. He's got a number of options. He could still throw this capstone up over to b4, which would basically solidify this line a little bit more. He could still build along here. He could build at a5. He could do a number of different things at this point. I think a5 would be a good move, be solidifying an anchor point, going for this horizontal threat. I think that a5 would be solid for black at this point. For white, in response to that, I mean, I could still see the capstone coming down, or I could see even a flat being placed here, or capturing up. Capturing up with b4. And that would stop this capstone from being able to cover up here and get that extra flat. Capturing up would do that. So we did see black fill in here at f4, which is an interesting play because it doesn't really further his road threat at all. He may be setting up so he can capture this piece, and then be able to have this sort of diagonal line for an anchor point. Or he may just decide, you know what, I'm just going to go for a vertical threat here since I've cut off this threat effectively with this capstone. It's a little hard to tell with these beginner games. Okay, so we do see an a2 come out here, so that is furthering the threat vertically from white. So that is a good move here. I wonder if we will see the throw of the capstone up to b4, or maybe we'll see a flat or a wall placed here to further cut it off. I do like the throw. I think that's a good move. There is no tack threat here from white yet, so placing an a5 is also a solid move. Instead goes for e3 because he wants to capture up and make that line. So I think what he's trying to do here, yeah, this is what he's trying to do. He's trying to capture up, and if white doesn't do anything here to stop that from happening, black captures up, white makes whatever move, black throws the capstone up here, then he's got that tack threat, and then the only way to basically delay it is to capture up, which is then recaptured by the capstone, and then this can come up and capture that, the capstone comes back over and captures, and that's a Tinue threat. So I think that might be what ETSD is going for. He's going for that Tinue, and that sound you're hearing is a very inopportune timer that means I need to take my creme brulees out of the oven. So I will be right back, right when the action is getting good. And I'm back. Forgive me. Okay, let's see what I missed. Okay, so he places here. White's response is to place there. Black does not throw the capstone, he just moves it up one. White makes the capture. Black moves the capstone up one more. And now we're caught up. Okay, whew, I'm a little out of breath because I'm incredibly out of shape, and just running to my kitchen is enough to get me out of breath. Okay, so... okay, white needs to do something. That was not it. Hmm. Ooh, and that was not what black wanted to do. Black wanted to capture here. I think that would have been way better for black. But now he does have attack threat here. And so if white misses this and doesn't capture over here or over here, that will be the game. And really the only move that she can do is capturing over to d4. Let's see if she spots that move. And again, we do have two flats there for white. But maybe she was hoping for some sort of capture war win here, but with the capstone there, it's not really possible. And again, black likely should have moved up with this first, because it would have given him a much stronger position. Okay, white does make the correct move here, the only move that she really had to stop that threat from happening right away. Now, if black does want to move his capstone, he has to leave behind the black flat here. He can't leave it empty, and he can't leave a white behind. Well, he can leave it empty because it would be two moves before that is a complete threat. So he can leave it empty. Now, white here, a wall at c4 would probably be good, because I like c4 better, specifically because it baits this capstone into crushing, and if he crushes, then he loses right away because of the road threat from white. Putting it all the way on this side basically stops that from happening. And if he wants to, he can leave black here, drop all the whites, all three whites here, and then crush where the wall captures. And so he wouldn't lose at that point. Would be interesting to see. Black probably going to throw this whole stack down. Yep, there he did, and make that vertical threat. Coming down with the wall would be the choice here, would be the best choice, in my opinion. Because then you can threaten the recapture of those captives. Yep, there we go. Good move. What do I see? So for black, I mean, he could just build here, which would threaten the connection this way, would also threaten the connection vertically and horizontally. It would start to go in that direction. He would know that this was just going to get captured right away. So maybe that wouldn't be the best of choices. Just going to start building. Okay, that's a good move too. I like that. Because regardless of what white does with this wall, can't interfere with this. At least not on this immediate turn. Now, white's best move still is to capture over here, because white can throw this wall over, interrupt this line on the next turn, and it wouldn't do anything bad for them at all, it would be probably the best move, free the captive, and get rid of this this threat all in one move. Well, two moves, I guess. White goes the other way instead, which is what I was hoping she wouldn't do, because it's tempting to cut this off right away, sort of preemptively. But if you looked ahead, one more move would have seen that coming over here and capturing that stack would have been more advantageous in terms of flat count and in terms of making that threat. And so now we see black coming across here at E2, that's connecting at F2, coming over here, and he's hoping to connect in this direction with horizontal threat. Now he doesn't have that for 2 more turns. Now if white wants, white can further pin, can do a hard pin on this capstone, drop a flat at B2 to pin it instead, plays at F6, not really seeing this horizontal threat, only looking at the vertical still. Which, I mean, the vertical is cut off by this wall, so that's not really a solid move at this point, unless white is going to start making their own horizontal threat, placing at A5, then going along to F6. This capstone also has been basically out of play for the whole game. When it was placed, it didn't really do anything for the position, and it hasn't really done anything to stop black, hasn't done anything to sort of be offensive in any way either. So that was sort of a big blunder from Fela in this game, was the capstone placement hasn't been a big part of the game so far. So we see black placing down here, which is interesting because I would have expected him to place up here to get the threat. But we're not seeing that, and I'm a little confused as to this move, what he's going for. Maybe he wants to sort of do a move where he throws down, but these are blocking that, so throwing the capstone down and connecting really wouldn't do anything for him. I mean, he could set up a Tinue play by placing a black flat here. No, he couldn't do that, actually. No. Maybe? Maybe he could? I don't know. It would be a little far-fetched, and it would take several moves, and so it wouldn't really be worth talking about. So white here, what white needs to do is probably place at A5, because first, it would give a little bit of a connection here. Would also give the opportunity to come down and cut off this spot here at A4. A5 and A3 are good moves. B2 is also a good move. So A3 was played, so that's solid. Placing now at C4 for white is attack threat. Black currently has no attack threats, but if black does place at C4, that is also attack threat for black. And it is worth mentioning that this black capstone is now completely pinned. If this capstone moves to the left, it's a win for white. If it moves to the right, it's a win for white. If it does move up or down, it is not a win for white. So black can do stuff there. This is not a attack threat for black. It's a good position, but it is not a tag threat. So white can still place here at C4 and make their own threat. But because of how defensive we've seen white play this game, I don't expect white to make the offensive move here. I expect white to make another move that will further cut this off. Probably by moving the capstone, the wall down, or something like that. But I do think the correct move, yeah, moves the wall down. The correct move here was definitely c4 to push that threat. And then this threat, if it went across, that would have been a game for white. Yeah, really the move for black after c4 would have been to come down, come here, or come across. Those would have been the moves for black. And I'm assuming black would have come across here to a1, expecting white to not see the capstone throw down and connect. So that's probably what would have happened there. So now that we've seen white move this down in a purely defensive move, I would not be surprised. That is a very surprising move. I'm not sure what motivated that. Probably because he doesn't want white to play there at c4. Now that this play is gone of moving b1 over to a1. So I wouldn't be surprised to see, let's see, if white played at a5, that wouldn't be a bad move. I mean, it could get quickly covered up. The b5 could be quickly covered up by this capstone, and this prisoner could be released. But I think that a5 here is still good, because it makes this horizontal threat viable and sort of keeps this vertical threat alive a little bit longer. So I do think a5 would be a solid move here. Doesn't have anything to worry about from a vertical or horizontal threat right now from black. So white is basically free to do whatever move they want, but instead they are playing another defensive move. And I am probably to blame for that because of my play with the two games I've played with Fela having been very overwhelmingly dominant in both of those games just because of the skill differential. I've played 3,000 plus games. Fela has played like 12. So that's probably the reason for that. Let's see, E2 plus. Okay, coming up. Not a bad move. It's actually a good move. Yeah, I approve of that move. Next move, placing for black, placing at E4 would probably be a solid move. Not attack threat, but it would keep this vertical and horizontal connection alive. White now playing here at F3. I don't know if I liked F3 as much as I liked E4 for white, strictly because if he plays at E4, or if white plays at E4, black is then forced to make the connection here at F3, which has the wall right next to it and can go over and capture. I get a text message from Fela saying, "I feel like I'm doing good. Please don't tell me otherwise." I have not responded. So we'll see how this is going. It's still anyone's game. Black does have an advantage in this one, strictly by positioning. But it is still anyone's game. Also, the time. We'll note that the time is pretty even between both of these players. So no one is playing particularly quick in comparison to the other. I feel like in terms of skill level, both of these players are probably right about even. Fela is playing much more defensively than ETSD at this point. ETSD is playing a strong, aggressive game. But Fela is falling back on more defensive plays throughout the whole game. Okay, so we see a fill in here at E2, which is interesting. Makes this citadel. Again, that's a 2x2 square. I can see white placing here at E4 because white's very defensive so far. Placing at E4 would be kind of in line with her strategy so far. I was actually just looking at placing a flat at C5, sort of preemptively, and then coming down with the capstone afterwards, getting the capstone in the game and making that tag threat. I like that idea. It would probably force the capstone to come up to B5, which wouldn't be too much of an issue because then, again, placing here at C6 afterwards would make another tag threat. So I like that. I think that Fela has the time here to place at C5 and make that move and not have to worry about attack threat enough. Ooh, instead goes straight for the capstone coming down. Now, the reason why placing the flat first, now I like the move. It's more aggressive than Fela has been playing so far, which is good. But the reason why the capstone coming after a flat being placed there is good because it can leave the flat behind and actually make this tag threat. Because if the capstone then comes down and smashes this wall, a wall here at C5 basically ruins the tag threat and cuts it off. And so that can't be continued. But I do like how smashing this, a wall comes here, placing off here with white is good, and that could further position. I like this move. I don't think that it was the best move. I think placing a flat and then coming down would have been the best move here, but I do think that's a good move specifically for this player and for the skill level we've seen so far. So I think that was a particularly inspired move from Fela. And you can be you can rest assured that she's not hearing my coaching because I'm saying this is the move that Fela needs to make, and she's making opposite moves from that. So there is no collusion going on, as you can clearly see. I'm sorry I have to keep reiterating that point because if she does end up winning, then people might think that's the case. So I have to make sure that people know that's not going on. All right. All right. So black is probably thinking, "Oh no, what can I do here?" But what black really needs to be thinking is, "Ooh. Now I wonder if white will take this and capture up." And that's what I would do. I would take the first two from B5 and capture up on to A6 or to B6. I'm confused by that. I am confused by that. Now, Fela might be abandoning this vertical threat and just go straight horizontal, and maybe that's why she's placing the capstone here to come down and smash and make this threat. And if that's the case, awesome. But I do think that leaving this here to recapture those, maybe not the best, but maybe she's thinking, okay, wow, and another wall comes out. So black saw this threat from white and decides to drop yet another wall. Because we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 flats from white, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 flats from black. So black has a pretty strong flat lead at this point. They do have a number of reserves left, so that's not a problem at this point. But black can maintain the flat lead. And I am interested if white takes this, moves it up, There's another option too, that white probably won't see. Playing a longer game of this, moving this capstone up on top, placing it A6, moving the capstone over, making that threat. Probably not something that a newer player would see, and it goes like 7 moves out, and black would probably have an opportunity to make a attack threat before that would even happen. So we do see a capture come across, and this is attack threat. Good spotting. I didn't even spot this move specifically because I saw this wall here. And so this flat coming down and capturing over with the first 2 flats from E3 would be attack threat. We see the recapture occur. We'll probably see a recapture there and then a recapture from D3. Now, what white does after that capture war occurs is what's going to be really interesting. Will they drop another wall down? Will they move their existing wall? What will occur here? Because if they do, so if white captures here onto E3, and then D3 comes over and captures E3, white's going to want a wall here. And I'll say why, and that's because white does not want this stack to run across and cover up all these flats. Okay, so Fela has disconnected, and then reconnected. Okay, so that's good. It's probably just an issue with maybe a page refresh or something. We are getting pretty low on time here. They're down to 3 minutes for Fela, just under 4 minutes for ETSD. So this match could come down to time. Do think really the only move here for Fela is to capture over onto E3, wait for the D3 recapture, and then wall here. Because the wall would keep, again, this flat, this big stack that would be big once this is there and that's there, from running across and covering up these and making more of a connection in that way, because it could create this vertical connection. Okay, there was a technical difficulty that I had to fix for Fela. The page had refreshed, but then she was back 1 move, and so she couldn't make a move, and that's why she lost about 1.5 minutes of time. So that's unfortunate, but it's fixed now. And I clearly didn't give her advice because she made this move. I think ETSD was expecting this capture recapture sequence to occur. Ooh, okay. Okay. So we're seeing this. So black doesn't have attack threat, but he does on the very next turn. White coming down making their own attack threat. Now, if black captures down with the capstone, that opens up white's capstone to come over and retake B4. I'm not sure if that would be the best move, but it is a move. Okay, so black does have to defend here. He has to decide what he's going to do to stop white's attack threat. Captures over. White does make the capture here. Will black make the recapture? I mean, I feel like he's got to at this point. And then the wall should come here. Ooh, or the capstone come down. I like the capstone coming down. That would be good to see this capstone come down here to C3 and be able to throw across to this wall, to this stack. Strong capstone would be really, really beneficial for white at this point. Yeah, I think that would be the best move. Oh, it doesn't go for it. Now black probably wants to play here at e4. And I say he wants to play at e4 because he knows that this can be stopped by his own capstone. Not the best move because, so why I was saying e4 and not e2 is because now this wall stack can move straight over, not only cut this off, but also threaten this big stack. White instead single-minded, makes another attack threat here. I think this is the point where we're going to see this capstone move. No, instead we see this stack run across. It is not attack threat, but because that was sort of a big move here, we're going to see more time being taken to assess the board from both players. So I would not be surprised to see this capstone move down. Excellent choice. I like the capstone moving down here and then coming completely across to this point. Okay, that's not happening. I like placing at C2 here. Sort of makes this downward connection. Also placing here at C4 I like. But we do have to be careful again. Both players down pretty low. Fela at 1 minute 10 seconds. ETSD just under 2 minutes. And the flatstone count is in favor of black. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. White instead moves up with the capstone, relinquishes the stack pretty early, makes no threat at this point. I didn't like that move. I think moving up with the full stack instead. So we'll go back. If white had taken the full stack, or even just the top two, left one white and put the rest here, it would have been attack threat. Or moved the whole stack, would have been attack threat. I think leaving one behind would have been sort of a bait for this capstone, and I think that would have been a good move. But instead we see the full stack go up and spread, wall come over. Now spreading this stack doesn't make much sense. Keeping the stack there would have been better, and then just placing a flat, that would have been a more solid move. Spreading a stack like that basically doesn't do anything for you. Now, white's got to be careful here. Now, white is pretty defensive so far. Even though black has the momentum, white is going instead for uh, black has the momentum. Black played a wall um, for this when black could have just placed here at f1 and made his own threat. Black seems to just be filling the board right now with pieces as opposed to making any actual threats. I think that they're both worried about time right now because Fela down to a minute, ETSD down to a minute 23. They might just be worried about time and just start filling the board with pieces. I think this spot is going to be important. So this is a attack threat, and it's very easy to miss. Coming from E2 to E3, or coming over from D3 to E3 would both be. Oh, and that is the game if black sees the move. So if black doesn't see black did not see his own win. Okay, so we are seeing him miss his own win here. He still has the move, and he can still win at any point right now. But I think that they're both so low on time that it's sort of panic mode right now, and they're just filling in. Doing that doesn't help as much as throwing the full stack over. I wonder if black is going to see his own win at this point. He doesn't have the win anymore. This cut it off. But him capturing up or capturing with the capstone is also really solid for him. But they're both just placing pieces right now, trying to finish this game out. So white capturing over here on a D3 would be ideal because that would be attack threat and it might be missed. It is hard to keep track of flats right now, but I believe black is in the lead. We have a way to check that really quick. Opening up PTN Ninja, jump to the current 15-15, and white is to play. So white can place here and win. So white's probably counting the board right now. If white counts the board and places, takes the win. Oh man, that's got to be frustrating for ETSD, but congratulations to Fela for the first game win of this match. Excellent, well done. And Area is commenting off here to decide white can have a flat win. Yes, board fill, white placing here. Black did miss his win a few moves back, and white missed it as well. It was available for I think 2 or 3 moves, and he did not see it because again they were both panicked for low time and just trying to get through that. I imagine we'll see a couple minutes of break before the second game. And so we will resume when game 2 begins. But congratulations to Fela on the first game of the match. And I will look forward to seeing game 2 between ETSD and Fela in just a couple minutes. All right, so game 2 has begun. Whew, that was quick. All right. So, took a little 15-minute break in between the game. I did not talk to Fela about the game at all. Just said congratulations on the win. And now we get to go next. Game 2. ETSD is white this time. Fela is black. We do see an opposite corner opening this time, which is different. In the first game, they did do adjacent corners. So we see ETSD coming out with that center control spot, which is a standard opening. We'll see what black decides to do in response. Taking a little bit of time here, probably trying to still get situated in the room. We do see a mirrored response here from black. Will we see another mirror on C4? It is what I expect. No, we see the deviation start early. Now I would not be surprised to see white play here at C4 and just start going horizontal. Typically when we see these mirrored starts, we see black wait for 2 squares to go in one direction before starting the deviation, which is that first cross move, because then that sort of commits them to going that direction as opposed to switching it up. Now, white here did not go with the standard move, which would be C4 here to push for a horizontal threat, instead going in between with a flat. Now, a capstone here is fine. A flat is a little less okay, but I think it's still a solid move. It's still fine. Let's see what black decides to do here now. I would not be surprised. Yeah, B2, good move there. C1 would have also been a good move. Yeah, I like that. We do see black's capstone come out or white's capstone come out, and this is in one of those positions where can capture down or capture over. It's in a solid spot for a capstone because it has the ability to capture in both directions no matter what black does on the next turn. So we are going to see white probably transition to a horizontal threat here. Black is going to make the first horizontal threat, I'm imagining, with a capture down, unless white captures over onto D2 first. Now, I would not be surprised to see a black capstone drop here at C2, because while it does not offer the opportunity to capture in two directions on top of opposing pieces, it does give a pretty solid opportunity to capture over onto D2. And I think that would be good. Okay, we do see a D1 instead of that capstone there. I do like the capstone right there, but I think D1 is fine also. White coming around here to play, and that's why I wanted to play that capstone here at D2, because even if white ended up playing at D1, easily cut off with a capstone, and you'd have that friendly stack underneath. Black just continuing to play along here. It's honestly, like, I like black's position. Ooh, but now white's capstone comes down, and that's solid. But we do see the first attack threat come out here for black. Going straight across, basically, just a little hitch up there to the 2 file. White's capstone comes down. This is where black really needs to think on this next move. This move, basically the next 2 moves. I think a capture is a little premature there. I would have expected maybe a capstone here at E3, but now the spot is open at C3 for a capstone. Yeah, definitely a capstone here at C3 now. With this wall coming here, definitely a capstone at C3. Because this capstone would be able to basically free this captive, or this wall would be able to free the captive, and a capstone would be able to crush that and retain 2 captives and a friendly as well. And so I do think the strongest possible move here would be a capstone, but I am not all knowing, so I could be totally wrong. Black instead choosing to play up here. It is for white attack threat on the next move, placing here at F5 or at E6, because throwing that capstone across would then be tech. Moving this flat away from the wall is actually solid. I like that move because it keeps it away from the capstone and the wall at the same time, and black wins the capture war. I like that. I like that move. It's good. Okay, so white now deciding, okay, I need to build across horizontally. Now, what black can do is throw across because it's going to win the capture war on this stack and still has the capstone in play. It's actually looking really good for black. I mean, huge flat advantage too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to 1, 2, 3, 4. So just recapture and capture because you will win this capture war, black. And a wall will be dropped next to it, and then a capstone from black will be dropped right next to that. But we did see in the previous game black not going for these capture wars, which was really interesting. Would give up basically a stack like this. And so this is definitely not a stack you want to give up to your opponent. Because, I mean, we're looking at this. This is 4 white pieces. Black does not want 4 white pieces going in any direction right now. That is not the kind of play that we want to see for black. For white, white definitely wants black to not capture that stack. Oh my goodness. And black does not go for the capture war, instead leaves the stack, which is probably going to go up. No, it doesn't. I'm very confused by white's play right now. White should be using this stack to keep it from being captured. Now, if black moves this up here, that's probably the ideal move. Because he wants this stack. I can't imagine. And this is another part of you know, is a reminder that this is, again, a beginner tournament. And so these players don't have the same amount of experiences we're used to seeing from the players who've been playing this for years or who have thousands of games under their belt. I mean, again, these are people who probably have less than 20 games that they've played in total. Um, well, some of them, some people have over 100 and perhaps just not have had the game click in their head yet. So for White, I think it's really interesting that White would not be immediately using this stack. I mean, you don't always immediately use a big stack like this, but I mean, it was in a position to lose a capture war. So it's good that he did finally use that. I would be very shocked to not see a capstone drop on this turn, either here at e4 or here at c5. And I'm not sure if you can hear this, but my dog is barking outside the window. So that's a thing that's happening. So sorry if that is what you are hearing right now. All right, so let's see what move was made. So black instead goes down here, makes no sense to me. White going there. Black really needs to drop a capstone here or here. Probably here. I like that better. Okay, c3. White's going to make attack threat here at c2 probably. Placing at c2 is attack threat. We'll see if black notices it. Because, again, we have noticed capstone blindness is a real thing. I've had it in my games. Pretty much every player who's played more than a couple dozen games has experienced capstone blindness, where you just don't see the capstone as being part of a road when it really is. And so this is a attack threat, and we'll see if black notices that. Black does, in fact, notice that and makes an attack with b3 to the right. Now, ooh, this is very close to Tinue in the next couple turns, but it is not yet Tinue. Hmm. This capstone placement I don't like at all. Because as I said before, you want to be able to capture in two directions. Now that white moved that stack away, black's capstone is isolated. It's not doing anything for him now. Hmm. Would. Okay, so white's in a pretty solid position right now. Black coming down with the capstone doesn't really do much, but then moving over to the left or right would do much. So yes, move that capstone down to c5. That, I think, is the good play here. And I do apologize if you can hear the dog barking. He's very excited right outside my window. All right, so we see black instead place here at a5. I don't know how I feel about that. I still think that moving this capstone down would be great because he can move across to get this stack or over to get this stack. So either way, it would have been a solid stack to grab. Ooh, now this is also getting close to that Tinue territory. Um, Now placing here, placing or capturing down would be a attack threat, and there's this citadel here that makes it difficult to cut off. It's not Tinue or particularly that close, but it is a difficult threat to address. And so I think moving this capstone down is step one. Oh, instead goes for that, which actually, yeah, that's a great move. I don't know why I didn't see that at first. That's attack threat. And this is an easy attack threat to miss. I mean, I clearly missed it just now. I didn't even see that possibility of the move when that's an obvious one in my head now. Great move. Good job, Fela. Um, that's my wife. She knows what to do. All right, I'm done. But yeah, good move from white to place a wall here because that was attack threat, moving across, connecting this capstone to these pieces here. The wall, that is a problem. I would now move the capstone down. I think that's basically the only move we got right now. Hmm. Placing a6, I don't know what that does. I'm not sure what the reasoning behind that was. Oh, makes attack threat. Going straight down, of course. Yeah. I just would assume that this wall would come over and immediately capture. But instead, white decides to place a wall here. I think maybe white, ETSD, has picked up the defensive um, tendencies that Fela had in the previous game. We see a b3 be played here. Doesn't do much to connect anything or even cut anything off. I'm not quite sure behind the reasoning behind that move as well. All right, we do see that capture come in. It is not attack threat, but it's pretty close. And if Fela allows basically this capture here, b1 going to c1, would be a Tinue at this point. There would be nothing that he could that Fela could do to stop this. Okay, so does make that initial play, which is good. It sets it off. What really needs to happen is this capstone needs to come down. White makes the recapture, sort of obvious recapture to basically continue this, but black now needs to move this capstone down or drop a wall here, or even a wall here, to be honest. Both of those would work. Ooh, and the stack comes down, which is interesting because the whole stack came down. There wasn't even a flat being left behind here. So this white can just recapture that very easily. So yes, this is attack threat, but it's easily stopped by just capturing a4 with b4. So maybe black is trying to sneak in these threats to win, to kind of win sneakily, which I think out of all the tournaments where you could win by a sneaky tack threat is in this beginner tournament because they're much less accustomed to looking for these tack winning patterns to seeing the winning moves. Now black is in trouble here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 flats to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 flats. Currently, black is in the lead in terms of flats, but that can easily switch things. That can easily change. Got some plus moves here. +3 moves, I think, right there. Getting this stack back is a +2 move. They can lead to another +2 move. So there's a lot that can be done here. And this is a tack threat. It is not Tinue, but it is a very strong tack threat. The only move that can stop this tack threat is moving this to here, covering up C2. And black saw it. Good work. Right. Now, white can continue this threat and play here, which would require this piece to either go here or here. And I think that's the move right now, is to place here at B3. Instead goes... I'm not sure why. There are very, 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 very few times when it's a good idea to move a stack or a piece to an adjacent empty space. Very, very few times when that's a good move. In this case, is not one of those times. So black should place a wall here. Like that's the move, placing a wall right there. Black instead places a flat. Now, white placing here, oh, black moves, is a very confusing game, and it's very difficult for me to do any commentary for it because, again, this is a beginner's... Ah, my headset died. Again, this is a beginner's game, and so it's difficult for me to do commentary because they're not making the moves that I expect them to make. Okay, so this is a tack threat now. That has been cut off. Will he renew it with D6? If he renews it with D6, I can see the capstone coming over to D6, stopping that threat and making its own tack threat. Okay, no, he does not do that. Comes down. C6 to the right. Moves the capstone. Very confused by that move. So the only thing that black can do now to stop this win is to move C2 to B2. There is no other move that can stop this. Oh, except for moving C2 to C3. So those are the two moves that black can do to stop this win. Black did see one of them. Now, I would not be surprised to see, I was going to say the capstone move, but that flat coming down is also fine. Place a wall here. I mean, a wall at C2 from black is the play. But black really wants to make their own threat, moves the capstone over yet again. And again, like I said, moving a piece to an adjacent piece that is, or moving a piece to an adjacent space that is empty is basically never a good move. White is probably trying to figure out what to do here. I mean, white can just get Tinue on this next turn. Just by placing here at c2. That's Tinue, and that's the game. Will white see that? That's the question. Sorry if I've been a little distracted. My dog is freaking out outside. I'm trying to pay attention, but I keep getting distracted. Okay, so if white sees that and places here at b3 or at c2, he wins. White did not see that. He did not get the Tinue. Instead goes for a d4 to the right. I imagine we'll see the capstone come down. Once the capstone comes down, it is no longer a Tinue to place here at c2. So we did see last game, ETSD did miss the win that he had. Not a Tinue, but the winning move for to get tack. He missed it, I think 2 or 3 turns in a row where both players missed that he had the win. And so he did miss that, and so him missing this Tinue here isn't too surprising. Also, it is a beginner's tournament, so they're not used to seeing this sort of pattern play out. So that for the veteran players is a little more obvious, but to the newer players is definitely a very new thing. Clearly, because they're new players. Of course it's new. I feel like I'm only saying the obvious thing right now all over the place. So, all right, we do see attack threat here from Fela. I was wondering if Fela would do this. So using the whole stack to capture up makes it so she can throw up. Does not do that. So she couldn't leave behind a white here because that would leave this to be a win. So had to use the whole stack to come up. Using the whole stack means wall right there, of course. So can't make that change. But what she can do, however, is leave a black here, a black here, a white here, and smash this stack. Smash the wall, and then she can come right back across, and that is attack threat. Will she see that? Very slim chance, because that is not a move that you would typically expect from a beginner player. Also, that move would be quickly cut off by this this wall capturing here at a4. But or this wall coming down here to e4. Either of those would work, but a4 being captured by the wall is a better move just because that's a big stack to give to a capstone. But I don't again expect Fela to make the move, leaving black here, black here, black here, white and smash. Yeah, and she didn't. She instead made d6 flat placement. And I will point out that the first game of this match was about 45 minutes long, which is very long. It's pretty standard for a high-level sixes match, but it's very long for a beginner's sixes match. So I'm surprised their brains aren't fried by now. My brain is typically fried after a 45-minute game, and so they just keep playing right on. So this is attack threat from white. Placing against c6 makes this attack threat. Using this capstone is the way to go. Coming across, covering up here at d4 and c4. So with the first game being 45 minutes, this one has so far been about 25 minutes. So it has been going by much quicker. Will we see? Okay, so she does see that move. Now, this is where I wonder what white's going to do. Will he capture down here at d4? If this were intuition bot, which only looks one move ahead, it would see, ooh, wow, big stat capture here. I want that. And it would capture that. And then the capstone would immediately come over and recapture. But that's Intuition Bot, which only looks one move ahead. Humans are able to look much further ahead. I think the best players of TAC are able to look as far as 8 or 9 moves ahead. Some of the bots look about 8 moves ahead as well, but they look along a lot more branches than humans do, I think. Tactician Bot being one of the top bots, if not the top bot, for play in the 6x6 size. And really good at the 5x5 size. I think Tiltac bot is very solid in the 5x5 as well. All right, so we see a wall come here. Ooh. I did get a text from Fela saying that move with the spread of the capstone was a fat finger move and it was a mistake. So it was not the tack spread that she wanted to do. The stack spread, I mean, not tack spread. So that is interesting. We see the wall do a self-capture, also very interesting. Not sure why that is a move that they would make, but it is a move that they did make. Now it is important to note that is a win for white. I was going to say no smashing can occur from this capstone because it would give the win away. So if white sees the win, which it may not, it did see the win. Okay, so ETSD did take game 2. So this is, in terms of the tournament score, this is a draw for this match. So 1 game to 1 game. This was a much quicker game. Like I said, this one was about 30 minutes. So well played, both players. Great job on your first games of this new beginner tournament. And I look forward to seeing more of these games. Well played, both of you guys. And I will see you on the next one.